Yes, it's me. Yes, me. Not AI. It's me. Yeah. You're going, oh my God, Deb is live. Yes, because you know what happens? When I see something and I feel I have to talk about it because it affects all of us, then I come on. Yes. And Primrose here thinks she's getting all ready to do a video, see? That's why she was getting happy. Listen, Mama, I have to do live, okay? So you stay quiet. I'll just wait for the nice people. You see hello? Okay? There she is, yes. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. It's me in the flesh. Ain't that wonderful? Yeah. So I'll wait for more people to come on. Hope everybody's doing well. And, you know, I just have to talk about something. You know. Let me get back to what I need to talk about. So, let me drink some water because for some reason, you know, I'm not actually out there as much talking. So, I have to drink. Yeah. You know, when I see something, gotta talk about it. Listen, guys, you know that I stay very, with the politics, I post, okay? I post stuff. And then I do the things that I really, like, enjoy to do because, again, you know, we have to live. So you gotta find things that make you happy. Do I know everything that's going on? Yes. And when I feel that I have to come out and talk about something, because this is important, okay? Everything else we see, is it really affecting you in your everyday life when you think about it? Even though we've done this for 10 years, we've been out there. And again, I will do it again for President Trump, okay? If push comes to shove, and he needs us again, I'll be right there. But right now, he's in. We did our job. That's how I feel. We got him back in. You got to stand behind, and you got to let all those prayers, everything we prayed for, manifest, okay? Got to let it manifest. So a lot of people are on. So let me just talk to you about what I saw today. And especially me, you know, I'm retired from finances, so it does get me mad. Okay, so right about now, we're in September, right? And now we're going to start seeing the weather change, which is great. Right now, I was notified that this weekend we should start seeing cooler weather, which we need, okay? You need that. Your body needs that. Your health needs that. Your immune system needs that change. Okay, so I always, around this time, keep up with the COLA increase, okay? The COLA increase for 2026. I like to read that. I like to see what all of us, retirees, anybody that's even getting SSI, okay, will get as an increase. It's very important to us. We worked hard all our life, okay? So I'm going to read the whole thing, then we're going to talk about it. So the official Social Security cost of living adjustment, which is called COLA, not Coca-Cola, COLA, for 2026 has not been finalized, but early projections are around, you ready for this? 2.7%. 2.7%. This forecast is based on July 2025 Consumer Price Index, which is the CPI data, and could result in an average increase of about $54 for Social Security. Primrose, give me this. Come on. Okay? You can play with other things. Right now, I don't need a squealing toy, okay? I know you think we're recording, but yeah, it's there again. All right, let me get back to this. So I said the price index, which is CPI data, and could result in an average increase of about $54 for Social Security beneficiaries. That's us. Moi. It's us. However, a significant increase in the Medicare Part B premium is expected. No shit, Sherlock. Which could consume a large portion or even all of the COLA for many recipients. What to expect for 2026? Social Security COLA. The Social Security Administration will announce the official COLA in late 2025, but current estimates are around 2.7%. You heard that? 2.7%. Now, Medicare Part B premium. The Part B premium is projected to increase by about $21.50 from $185 to $206.50 per month. A significant increase that will be deducted directly from Social Security checks. Now, impact on the beneficiaries, which is us. We're the beneficiaries, okay? It says a 2.7% COLA would add roughly $54 to the average monthly Social Security payment. However, for those with lower average benefits, the increase in the Medicare Part B premium may effectively negate the entire COLA, leaving little additional money for other expenses. Now, factors influencing the COLA and the Medicare cost. Inflation. The Social Security COLA is tied to inflation. Measured by the Consumer Price Index for Urban Wage Earners, CPI-W. While current inflation rates are a key factor in the 2.7 projection, the final COLA will depend on inflation data from the third quarter of 2025. Medicare cost. The rise in Medicare Part B cost is another major factor affecting retirees. Okay, Producer Price Index, that's the PPI. Some analysts are watching the PPI, which rose significantly in July 2025, as it often signals future consumer price increases. What to do now? What to do now? Monitor official announcements. Keep an eye out for the official Social Security COLA announcement in late 2025. Review your budget. Review your budget. Consider how the potential COLA and the increased Medicare cost will impact your financial plan. Just like shit. Explore other savings. Look for ways to manage your expenses or find other income streams to help offset any potential shortfalls. Okay, let me get a sip of water. And I'm just going to walk over there for a minute, okay? Just, I read this, okay? Breathe out. Breathe in. You know what I'm going to say, right? This is nothing but bullshit. In President Trump's words, bullshit. Because you know what? I don't want to hear any of this shit. Especially when, hello, Elon Musk and Doge, okay? Elon Musk and Doge and President Trump found that we, the people, have been ripped off. okay? We have been ripped off. All that effing money going out. And thank God we dodged the bullet almost a year ago, coming up in November, where all these freaking people, and then they want to say that we, because of index this and that we're only entitled to 2.7%. Let me tell you something. And you know, I love President Trump. But you know what? All this other shit that they're doing, and you keep hearing, Deb, are you going to talk about the Epstein list? What on that effing list, truthfully, is going to change our way of living, okay? Right now, we know, and that's why Doge was formed. Doge was formed to show us the crime and the corruption. And then they want to turn around. I'm surprised that President Trump, if he lets this be, because enough is enough, President Trump, okay? Enough is enough with the American people. We should not have to resort. Matter of fact, what should happen, we, especially retirees, okay? We shouldn't even have to, after a certain age, okay? And I hope Ron DeSantis is listening to me about our property taxes, because that's another shit I don't get. I find very wrong. I go out, when I built this house, okay? $40,000 back in 2008. I had to pay for this lot, the land, okay? The land. So somebody tell me, how is it that I'm paying $40,000 for the land, okay? And then every year I gotta watch when my taxes go from $700 to $800 to $900, now up to $2,000, and I want to know, what are they doing for the land? Because again, I'm mowing the lawn. I'm taking care of the so-called land that they decide that if I renege and I can't pay my bills, they're going to come, okay, and take my home. I don't get it. I don't get how we buy property where I put my house on there, okay? It doesn't make sense that I have to pay to keep my house on that land. And then they don't do nothing for it. See, they want to go and take the land that costs us so much money. And everything about the land, we're taking care of also, while they sit back. They don't do jack shit on my land or on anybody's land. That's the problem. So for seniors, we paid our dues, okay? There has to be a way that at a certain age, we don't pay land tax, because I'm going to tell you, I'll give you an example. Thank God, because of my finance background, right? I refinanced my house a couple of years ago, where I have 2.75%. Technically, to be honest with you, you see this house. I can't even sell it if I wanted to. Where do I go? Where does Missy go? Okay? When on mortgage, not for nothing, it's like $680. It's the mortgage is fine. Okay? It's all the taxes. And now I just had a big thing. I didn't even tell you guys yet about my home insurance. After I put a tin roof on the house. Okay? After I put a tin roof, and a lot of you guys are going to be surprised when I come out to speak about that, especially if you have citizens. But I'm like, you know what? Enough is enough, President Trump. Listen to me. Okay, we keep hearing, okay, of a stimulus or this and that. There has to be better than that. It has to be better. The problem is, what's sad for me, and again, like I said, I have no problem affording my mortgage. If something happened to me, Missy could stay living here. If something happened to Missy, I could stay living here. Why should we end up as seniors now losing our home because our property tax keeps going up? See what I mean? The property tax, then the freaking insurance. It's sickening, it really is. And it's very unfair that seniors, after we all worked, and you're supposed to enjoy this time, that any of us have to worry about that. You know, the most saddest thing is to worry that you could be out in the street or you have to depend on friends and family to go and live with. I don't want that. I don't ever want that. I worked hard. I'm happy for what I did as a woman. Okay, as a woman, I did everything by myself. This is what I'm talking about. And then they want to come along because they want to pay all these salaries. Here's another thing. I don't have children. Missy don't have children. We don't have children here. Why do we have to continue to pay taxes for the schools? That should come somewhere else. It should not be on us. And that's what's scary. That is very, very scary. Right now, we see it even with the mortgage interest rates. With whatever his name is, Powell, okay? That should be gone. But right now, this is bullshit. When I have to read this, and yes, about your HOA. Okay, remember, I was a president of an HOA for 11 years. I know what it is. And now, when helping Marion find a condo, yes, it was a little shocker. Because I've been gone from Mill Pond since 2008. And when I left as president, the maintenance for Trace was $232. I can't even imagine what it is. Okay? Right now, maintenances on condos are way up. Are way up. But this is what happens. You know, it's sad. We watch more and more people coming down to Florida. The traffic is horrendous. I'm telling you now, it's horrendous. Yes, for some people, an HOA is a joke. But I'll be honest with you. I love living in my house. I love that I went back to a home because technically, living in a home, you can do what you want. If I wanted to have 8 dogs, which we had up to 6 at one time, I can do it. The thing is, they're very good. Condos and all of that, yes, are good when you can't do the work anymore. Okay? There's coming to a time now, you guys see with my hand. This is why I knew when I'm getting closer to 70, and then once the roof, after those storms we had, so we put on a new roof, right? And painted was to do that so I don't have to do the majority of work. That scares me now because part of it I love to do. But right now I can't do something that's repetitive, you know? Like this happened to me. See, my bone is fine now. It happened to me because I'm taking the clippers and I have a very heavy grip. So yes, there's gonna come a time that either I'm going to have to get a person or I'm going to have to pull out hedges. There's already 2 big bougainvilleas that I'm going to have to get out because I can't even, as small as I am and I get around these plants, you have to maintain them. And in the summer months, they are blooming again. Those are the things that's going to make me sick. So yes, being in a condo, you're paying for that. Okay? You're paying for it. Sometimes I miss the activities. I'm not going to lie. I used to run, as president, I had to see over the social panel. We had bingo that I ran. Things like that. But as far as deed restrictions and all of that, it's not easy. You have to realize that even when I moved to a condo, yeah, coming from New York, in the Bronx, there was no deed restriction. People did what they want. Graffiti all over the freaking place. Okay? Burnt out homes, buildings, whatever. Here, it's different. And some of that I like. okay? I like that when you're living in a deed restricted, because your property value will not go down, because you're not going to have somebody living next door to you that decides to put their couch out, okay, or a refrigerator. That's it. And some people, and when I was president and the realtor used to bring people to the clubhouse and introduce me, one of the first things I would say to her, Mary, Donna, whatever, did you let them know that this is a deed restricted? And right away, you know, the realtor wants me to like, shut up, Deb. No, I can't shut up, because the person decides to buy, and then they come down and they go into the pool and they don't like the rules of the pool. And then you got to stand there and explain to them, well, you live in this section, and just remember, you can't go out one day and decide you want to paint your house pink. You have to get that approved, okay? You have to get it approved. To get those things done, the board has to approve it, okay? So yes, those were all shockers even to me. But, you know, I went in, I was by myself, I was still working. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to make waves. I like it. I like them, okay? I like it. But some people don't. And they want to come down and they want to bring their liquor to the pool in the cups, and you can't do that. They don't want to listen to the rules of the spa, okay? Especially if, you know, you're pregnant, especially if you have heart conditions, you know, and you want to go in 104-degree spa while you're having a drink. And during my time there, yes, we had a guy that passed away in the spa, and it was sad. These are the things. And then also, they don't care, you know. It's like, why did you move here? And I blame lots of times. This is why I get on the realtor's case. I said, please explain to them. Don't let them be surprised, okay? Don't let them. Make sure they also have the budget statement of whatever section, so they know what their maintenance is going to be, all those things, or how things were going, if there was any special assessments or things like that. See? But again, condos got hit with all of that. Years ago, the insurance wasn't bad. Listen, when I moved here in 1997, and I was by myself in a house, my mortgage was only $502, okay? We didn't worry about, I moved from New York, where I had Liberty Mutual, and that was passed down to me from my parents, okay? See how tradition? We see what our parents did. We see the rapport that they had, that when I needed car insurance, or I needed apartment insurance, or I needed house insurance, I followed in the same steps. So when I was building my first house, I was in New York. My first house was built as a second home. That is how I got my mortgage. My job was good in New York. So I was able, as a woman by myself. And this is why I want to say this. Yes, I go the length to help anybody that wants to buy a property or whatever. I do that, and especially I'm proud to see when it's a woman doing it by herself. There's so many like me. I have my spiritual sister, Joanna Chiapelli, that lives in Tampa. She did it way before me. And it makes me happy, especially when I came down. When I used to fly down in the early 90s, okay? It was sad because of me being a woman, not in a relationship, by myself, walking into models and seeing that they would look at me. You know, like one day I said, oh, am I missing someone? Yeah, they expected to see a husband, okay, a husband. So once that, they don't want to believe that I have the money. I know what I'm doing. See what I mean? And I was lucky because I keep my prayers going. And I didn't let it, you know, how do you say it? Not keep me going, okay? it never got me discouraged. I just kept coming down. At least every 2 months I fly down. I stay for about 3 weeks. And then I go in models. And it just so happened I had a nice gentleman with Transmark, okay? And he helped me, his wife and his daughter. And it was through him that I even was able to get the mortgage at that time with AmSouth, which is Regions Bank. And it was no problem. But before that, I could go into a model. And yes, I would come walking back and my friends would say to me, Deb, are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. It's just that it's very sad. You know, it's very sad, like right away. So now when I have people that write me or tell me, Deb, I want to move to Florida. You know, I try to give them the best advice. They don't have to listen to what I'm telling them. I'm trying to forewarn them, and especially now. So with Marion, it was a pleasure, okay? She didn't know I didn't want her to be taken advantage. And yes, I might be a little, and she'll tell you about that, because I'm different, okay? I still have the New York in me when I work, okay? See, I was never used to that. Even working here, I was never like one of the first jobs that I got here was like a small CEO for a vending company here. I got that job within 2 weeks because even then things were different. You know, now these jobs with this online, I never had to worry about that. I saw what Missy went through. Okay, we're not, you know, we're used to going to an employment agency. Okay, remember them? Do you remember employment agency? Yeah, well, that's who I was registered with. So with my background, I could go anywhere. So one of the first things, sure, I applied with account temps. And that's how you get jobs. So within 2 weeks, I already had a job here. The thing is that I still worked on New York way. Okay, especially with finance, especially if I had a payroll to get out, especially if I had to pay accounts payables, bills, and things like that. I wasn't the type, well, I got to go to lunch, okay? I have to go to lunch. That's not how it is down here, and I had to get used to the way it is with a lot of southern states, because that's how it is. I had to get used to my boss when it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and he decided then, well, you know, let's have a drink. I'm not a drinker, okay? That was number one. And meanwhile, I have to talk about financials, okay? Financials. So then that was like, ooh, I don't know. And then people think that I'm too aggressive. That's how we worked in New York. And you know why? Who does that remind you of? This is why New Yorkers get shit done. We get shit done. And Missy could tell you, my sister could tell you, Marion could tell you now, because they see what happens. I focus. You have to. The same way, you know, how many houses now did I build? How many, you know what I'm saying? You got to watch all of this. This is why I made a great president. And people were sad when we moved after 11 years. Yes, because after a while, you see the writing on the wall. See, a lot of these developments, a lot of these condos, especially in Newport Richie, they were built with a different mindset. The mindset was that Florida will always stay, you know, a retirement state. Do you get it? That's how it was geared. That's why in the beginning, jobs were hard to find. Not for me. Not for me. Even when I came in 1985, I was in a different relationship at that time. And that was the first time I was buying a house with my partner. So at that time, we looked at a home in Holiday. And at that time, houses were like in the 40s. So we put money down. Even when I was here, okay, I knew. And you want to hear something? That's the weekend that I came down, me and my partner at that time, we came down on Trump Airline. You see what gets me? We flew down on Trump Airline because in Long Island, and I think it's on Country Road where Fortunoffs were, they had models. So every time I went to Long Island, I would go into the models. And then they had with Maneri Homes, that's what it was. And Maneri Homes, for $299, you came down, and believe me, after being here, 30-something years, it looks different now. Because you see how quickly, okay, that changed, even from 1985. See, a lot of things weren't built up. We didn't have the Suncoast. The Suncoast Highway was built even after I built my first house in 1994. They kept telling me, oh, you'll have no problem, Deb, getting a job. Yeah, every interview I went to in Tampa, every interview I went in Clearwater, all saw my address as Spring Hill, and they had a problem with that. Could you believe that? See, I'm used to New York, and I would tell them, listen, I will be here. If my hour is to be there at 8, I'll be there. That's all that should matter. But you could see how, and then another thing, going back to 1985, the weekend that I came down, because right away, I'm a go-getter. All I had to do was hear, or somebody told me, that Eckerd Drugs was hiring. They needed a person for payroll. So I went for the interview, and I got the job. I got the job right at that time, and it's not that I wanted to have that security. I already resigned from New York Hospital. My partner at that time, she worked for a hand doctor in Manhattan, and retired. Then all of a sudden, see what fate does? I go back, and my father gets sick. And at that time, we already put our condo, not a condo, it's co-op. You see, I was glad that we never bought a condo up there. So I put the co-op up for sale, and we went to live back with my mother. And then over time, other things happened. So I always had the focus, whether I stayed in the relationship or we broke up or whoever, I am going to move to Florida. I always knew that's my destiny. And it was. And that's why I tell women, don't be afraid. Many people talk to me and said, how did you do it? You know, just coming down. Well, I was able to get the house in 1994. And that was my first house. And practically in those days, it went up right away. It's this house that took about 10, 11 months to put up. And remember, we broke land in 2007, but the house was not complete until October 28th of 2008. So right now, we're going to be coming up to 16 years, right? Yeah, 18 years, okay? And how time flies. So when it comes to people or somebody writing me and say, Deb, I'm going to look for property, stay confident in yourself, okay? That's what you really have to do. Don't let people, don't let family, you know, try to change your mind. It wasn't easy for my siblings and my mother at that time because I ended up leaving. I asked my mother to come. I offered her to come. And she didn't want to because she had my brother there and my sister. It's not easy, and you take that chance, you know. But if people figure, well, you know, I didn't have children. I didn't have to worry about that. I moved on, and I tell women, you have to, because one big thing with me, and I'm going to say it, and I'm always going to say it again, the gay life, and I'll be honest with you, is not easy. And it's not easy. And for many of us, my age, and you know, okay, is the fact that we had relationships that did not last. And it did not last because of anything I did or anything she did, okay? It didn't last because of society, of what family. And that's why I tell people, Do not let anybody stop your dream, okay? Do not let that happen, because that could have very well been happening with me. So sometimes I say, I still continued and I did what I had to do. In those days, it was hard because the way society was, is that two women cannot make it. They can't make it because that's what it was. So when you have a person that is not strong-willed and their mother might not like it or their parents might not, you gotta let that go. You have to let that go, and you gotta do what's gonna make you happy. That's why, yes, I do dance and I do all this because I'm happy. I'm happy I did what I needed to do. And I'm still now at 70. And I know people don't like it. I know it. They write, but Deb, you don't do politics anymore, and you don't do this and you don't do that. Listen, guys, I'm just Deb, okay? I'm not changed. I don't not love you guys anymore or support President Trump. I have to be who I am. And for 10 years, you didn't see that. 10 years, I devoted my time to President Trump and this country, okay? Because I saw what was happening. I saw what was happening with Obama, okay? It was Obama that really opened my eyes. And I prayed and prayed for President Trump to come in. I tell you guys this story all the time, that I don't know why it was so bad for him. Now we know. Now we know why they treated him the way. Because look at all the stuff that he knows. Look at all the stuff that he's bringing out. We wouldn't have known this. We didn't know any of this. Every day, just the fact of watching, even watching now, how the Democrats treat us, the people. That's why I'm telling you, live your life. The Democrats, they're going to be gone, okay? That is going to be a party. I don't worry about them. I don't worry about what's next they're going to do, because I kept saying it. They're going to end up doing things and probably getting in trouble, not for the things they did in the past, the things that they think they got away with and now they're doing, okay? Now they're doing. When we have politicians that decide, oh, you know what? It's more important to start a GoFundMe for an illegal, okay? It's more important to fly in a plane and go to a country to support an illegal that was deported. See what I mean? We're watching all of this. And slowly, remember, it's not even a year for President Trump, and look at all the things this man is doing. Everything that he's doing. And we're watching every day between the mainstream media, okay, which will be gone too. They're going to be gone. So this is why when people have to be rude, if I'm on a video and I'm doing something and I'm having fun and we're all just having a good time, you know, it's sad. It really is sad. I don't think anybody should tell me. I'm not a reporter. I never was a reporter, and to be honest with you, I happen to be lucky because I'm still here. My Deplorable Deb page is still here, even though they play with it, okay? See what I mean? They send notes. Oh, you got an award, see? And then the next thing, they're not sharing stuff again. I noticed something. When President Trump was in that meeting with Zuckerberg, and did you see how Zuckerberg was like moving like away from him? Did you notice something now? Because it's impossible. How 1 week, all these people, okay? Because sometimes we see the numbers on my page. Then all of a sudden, I'll go to post something and it's like 8 comments or this and that. You know when they're playing with you. They know. I'm telling you. Remember, do you miss the days of when we were in Facebook jail? How about when we were in low feed? Remember that? See? All of that. Everything that we've been through. And I think what happened is the other day, Zuckerberg saw him at that meeting. And there's still a little part of him that I find that he's a freaking weasel. I wish people would understand. When you have that gut feeling about someone, you gotta stay with that gut feeling. See what I mean? That's how I am. I like everybody, but you'll know when I'm not liking somebody. Stay with that gut feeling. There's nothing that Zuckerberg can do that's going to make me feel that he now likes us conservatives, okay? That he's going to like us. He still has control. For me, he's still involved on where his money goes. So, today, I'm on because for the people that don't know at times what I'm talking about, okay? Because I'm different. I just talk like if we're talking on a stoop. Everybody know what a stoop is? Do you know what a stoop is? A stoop is what we had in front of our house. A lot of houses had steps. And you know what? When you go into the Bronx or you go into Brooklyn, Queens, you know, that's what we're used to, okay? We're used to having houses close, and on those steps, we talked about so much. Many times, me as a kid, with my neighbor Marion or Laura next door to me, sometimes we just had the steps. That's it. And those steps also helped us to stay in shape because we ran up the steps. We ran down the steps. We played ball on the steps. Okay? Did a lot of things as kids we had that kept us fit. And that's why, you know, we're able to remember all of this, all those memories. Here, you know, you don't see that in neighborhoods. You don't see kids anymore, you know, in front of the shed. Why do you think I put those 2 steps there? To remind us of the stoop. Yes, Debsy, a stoop is for stoop ball. Yep. And many of us, we would even sit out there in the winter. What? The stoop in Bronx Tale comes to mind. It does, Donna. It really does. A lot of things like that. So if you go back, see the beginning, because I always like to talk about things that kind of annoys me. So I came on live today simply because of the COLA increase. And this is what gets me about the Medicare Part B premium. See, all of this shit, where now we're going to be having $206.50 coming out of our check. So along with just getting a 2.7%, for the people that want to know what I'm talking about, I came on because we're coming up to the announcement of what the COLA, the cost of living increase, and how they do it. And part of my talk today was, I don't want to hear this bullshit, President Trump. I don't want to know that our cost of living increase is going to be judged on, you know, what the index did. Let me tell you something. What the hell does the index have to do with anything when it's our money that's being stolen? I think to get things right and a benefit for President Trump, because if President Trump even wants to try to get a 3rd term, even though he was robbed, and again, I'm going to say it, we have to make sure that the truth does come out about the 2020 election for the future. And technically, the way I see it, President Trump is owed that term that was stolen by the Democrats. And what about everybody that needs to be, I say, you know, arrested for all that? Okay, we're still waiting for that. We're still waiting for Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and John Radcliffe and, you know, Peter Navarro to come all out with all of that stuff. And all we do is wait and wait, and the years go by. And before you know it, we're back in September. And the next thing to my mind, oh, here comes the COLA increase. And I want to see, listen, that's our money. That money should have been always getting interest. And our money should have never been used for anything else but for us, the American people, for our Social Security, not to have illegals come in. And the shocker to see how many illegals were also getting our Social Security. So this is how I see it. This is how I see, as, you know, even when we had issues and a person was short money, it's called an adjustment. So all that money that was going to all these fake accounts, which I believe is also from other countries, should come back to the American people, like I said. And if they can't do it that way, then for about 5 years, they should give us an adjustment on our property tax, people that want to get a mortgage. Somewhere, that money has to go back to us. Okay? That money has to go back to us because we're the ones, we're the victims. And I'm not seeing that. I just hear it. So I'm forewarning, and I hope President Trump, you know, you listen to the people. You can't just let this COLA increase be that little, because the American people, we don't want to hear. We don't want to hear any of this shit. And I'll repeat it. The official Social Security cost of living adjustment, which is COLA, okay? Cost of living adjustment, COLA, for 2026 has not been finalized. That's why I'm opening my mouth. Finalized, but early projections, see now, early projections, I want to know who's projecting this early shit. Are they coming out to talk to the American people? Have they seen, because of the Biden administration, the cost of food? Okay, the cost of gas? Yes, the gas, I'm seeing it coming down, but technically here, okay, on the west coast of Florida, we're not seeing different much in the prices going down. So, the forecast is based on July 2025 Consumer Price Index, CPI. I want to see these people. I want to see, are they DEI hired people, okay, that don't know their ass from their elbow? Data, and could result in an average increase of about $54 for Social Security beneficiaries. That's us. And you know what? That's bullshit, President Trump. That's bullshit, Elon Musk. Okay? We don't want to hear this. We don't want to hear this. Somewhere, we've been ripped off. We've been ripped off by other countries that have their hands in this. We've been ripped off by the freaking politicians that now are still in, right? They're still there. They're still getting a paycheck. Even the jackasses in Texas, okay? Those 10 whatever that decide they're going to run off and stay in a hotel and then bill the American people for their time, because that's how they're being, where they should lose their seats and get arrested for doing that shit. We're always the victims because we're watching. We're watching all these politicians up there in the government, and I don't care who they are, all go and look at their salary. You don't have to be a mathematician to look at it and say, Many of them only get paid $174,000 a year. But now you go and look what's out on the internet, and you know how smuck, I call it, or brazen they are? They don't give a rat's ass that that's out there. Because in their mind, we the American people, we can't do shit to them. See? We can't do shit to them. So more, it's put in our face. And why did this happen? I thought Elon Musk and Doge next project was to go and find out why are these people rich as hell, okay? And not just them, you got Fannie Willis, you got Letitia James, you got Alvin Braggs, you got all these freaking people that was going after President Trump, making our life sickening, and none of it comes to us. See? We're not the ones. We're living day to day. Like I always say to you, I want them who's in Congress to get the same benefits that we get. I can never understand. As soon as they get there, they get a la carte. A la carte of what? What makes them so special? See, I'm a believer because I was a president of an HOA, okay? I was the president of the board. And on my board was 7 people. We didn't get paid. That's how it goes. If you have property, you're going to do it because you want to keep your property intact the way you want to keep living in a nice place. And I feel that when I'm going to pick somebody that wants to run, it's because they're going through the same thing as us, right? So it's like now, would I pick a person like Gerald Nadler to want to vote on anything when it came to health care? See? The same way Chris Christie decided to want to put Robert F. Kennedy down because it's dealing with medical. And meanwhile, I always say this, just look at Chris Christie and then look at Robert F. Kennedy. Who would you bet money on that's going to help you more with medical? The person that's fit? Now, don't get me wrong. I wish that Chris Christie, because of his weight, should come out and tell the people, yes, I know what this looks like because I'm overweight, but I have a thyroid problem or I have some type of cancer. Then he can judge. But when he just goes out there and wants to call, degrade Robert F. Kennedy, are you freaking kidding me? That's why I say to people, even with me, when I used to have my dogs on, and my dogs, remember, they might have been a little overweight. And I'm not the type to be that mean and go on other people's. So after a while, I used to say to Missy, you see some of these people? Should I go on and tell them, oh, what are you feeding your child? Okay, see what I mean? That's not what we're here for. So I look at some people need to just stay quiet with things, like Chris Christie. I look at it when, like I said, when Gerald Nadler was going to make decisions on our health care plan. Really? See what I'm saying? And this is why I get mad, because they're not getting the same health care as us. They're getting a better policy. It's us, the American people, that are suffering. People that are even paying for medical. Listen, look at Missy. I say it all the time. No matter, she pays out of what, $280, $300 now? And has some type of, I don't know, it's always changing. Blue Cross of Florida, then it goes to like Aetna, and then it goes to this other shit. But it never seems to change, because as soon as she goes for a very important test, like the PET scans, they didn't pay it. This is what gets me. So you're almost like damned if you do, damned if you don't. So I kept saying to her, maybe you shouldn't have any and get yourself another plan. Because I'm old school, guys, okay? Listen, I remember the days. My first job at Misericordia Hospital, I didn't have kids. I didn't have anything. All I know that I had full coverage. My sister, benefit coordinator, that's where my sister worked, and then also worked for St. Barnabas Hospital. We remember those days. We remembered where we got medical. And I always say this, for me, any policeman, any fireman, any nurse, doctor, anybody that works in that type should not pay anything for medical. And I say this more when we allow these illegals to be bombarded by Biden and Kamala Harris to come into our country, and they're getting all the medical, and other people are still paying bills off, afraid to go to the emergency room. This is how we're living. That's why now I can come on today and talk about the COLA increase, because we don't get nothing. And I'm telling you, I'm warning President Trump. He has to, this is why I'm saying, I don't give a rat's ass anymore about the Jeffrey Epstein list, because it doesn't matter. We hear the same shit all the time. And are people going to be held accountable? People right now want to know where they're going to get their next meal or how they're going to pay their bills. Okay? It's been all about that. Not about Jeffrey Epstein, because we don't know what's real. And when it comes out, what are they going to do with these people? What? This is all we hear. Okay? We hear, I do believe a lot of things are happening behind the scenes. Okay? But right now, President Trump, this cost of living, what the American people deserve. Okay? I'll be honest with you. If it was me and with all the money, I would make sure that every beneficiary gets at least $1,000 increase. That's it. Because that's what we deserve. And medical. Okay? Not pick and choose. But to tell me that after all of this, that they're just going to allow 2.7%, it's bullshit. And every person should be mad. Every single one should be mad. That's how I see it. So, I'll talk to you guys later, because I'm telling you, people keep coming in this country. I see stuff that will make your head spin. It really is. It's sad of what people are spending for medical. But yet, they'll come in. You know what I mean? I see people now that if I run into them, I go to the doctor. Some people, you know what I mean? Or me on the phone helping Missy with other bills. See what I'm saying? So I'll talk to you guys again. Thanks for listening. I'm still here, okay? I'm still here, but I will come out when it's important. No, I don't want to talk about Jeffrey Epstein. I don't want to talk about the mainstream media. The mainstream media, we know they're full of crap, okay? Look at that poor girl from Ukraine. That should not have happened. I'm like with President Trump with that. But people, I'm telling you now, you've got to be vigilant when you're out, okay? Yes, it's very sad that that poor girl left, I think it's Ukraine, right? Okay? Comes over here and this happens. And you know why this happens? Because the Democratic people are okay with this shit. Hey, Marion. Hey, Lorraine. Yep. I'm not seeing me. Yes, I'm seeing you. Don't distract me, okay? So listen, that they can go and want this shit to happen. See what I'm saying? They want that. They're okay with it. They didn't even want to put her in the newspaper. They didn't want to acknowledge what this piece of shit. And a lot of this happened. This happened because of politicians, especially politicians in New York, because so many places took away mental institutions. For some reason, this is all part of the way where we were going to get taken down from within. And when the old man, Biden, along with the old man, because to me, he started it too, Obama. All of this started with Obama. But in these 4 years that they stole, okay, they allowed all these people to fly in while we were sleeping. How many times planes were going into Westchester Airport? How many times was planes coming in to Tampa Airport? And how many times did I say that they have to go after these pilots, they have to go after these NGOs, they have to go after the people that in the airport that saw these planes coming in and watch these people get off with tickets in their hand as if they're going on an effing vacation, transferring out to go to different states. See? That's what happened. That's the knot that I would get when I would see things like this, that they allowed. And President Trump, who's cleaning up this mess, they're the ones, he's the one that they go after. How is that possible? That President Trump, who wants to keep us safe, but he gets where they want to impeach him because they want to continue to help illegals. Does that make sense? Like sometimes, don't you feel like we're in the twilight zone? And then we have people, understand something, guys. When I first started talking for President Trump and people wanted me to go to events and people would say, Deb, you have to go to Washington. And I would look at them and say, why am I going to Washington? Just explain to me. Why do I have to go and march in Washington when we should all be watching our own state? You have to watch your state. You know why? Because behind everybody's back, that's where all the shit was happening, starting with the takedown of each state. It starts local. And that's what they did. That's what the Democrats did. Even while President Trump was in his first term, we had that going on. You had, what's his name? Eliza something, that lawyer. What was his name? See, some people that I don't care about, I don't care. Who was fighting all the time when President Trump, okay? Ellis, that guy. And look at, what's her name? Jenna. Remember President Trump's lawyer? What bribe did she take to turn around and go against President Trump? Remember that? That's all that. So, again, all what we're seeing is what they were taking down in every state. This is why now you're going to watch little by little. This is why I'm hoping every day we pray. Yep, Mark Elf. We're hoping because the best thing that's going to happen is the Democrats are not going to be in power anymore. And that's the goal of President Trump, and he's doing it. That's how he's draining the swamp, because the swamp is the Democratic Party. And a lot of Democrats are waking up. Would you ever think Fetterman? See? Don't turn him off, okay? See how he's being? A couple of others. Yep. So guys, I'll be back on whenever they come out with the new rate. But I hope, you know, somebody gets to President Trump, because it's always the same people that either know us and they go to Mar-a-Lago, okay? And, you know, could say, you know what? The American people can't survive on a 2.7% increase, okay? and have the Medicare go up to 205, all of that. Okay, something has to give for the American people. Something here in Florida has to give for us seniors. When it's coming to our insurance, I'll talk about that the next time because I'm working with it now. Really dropped me and Missy for a big one. And then, you know, just property taxes. See, somehow they like I said, you could have the greatest mortgage, okay? You could have. And a lot of things that I have done in my life is for gearing up. Many of us, we geared that way. We work hard and then we want our future, okay? We want to make sure that when we hit our 70s, we're going to be able to stay in our home, not be told we can't afford after working hard and getting our Social Security and then seeing the little money you're getting there. And then our money being touched. And then every Tom, Dick, and Harry somehow is getting our Social Security. This is what's sad, guys. I still want to know from Elon Musk and Doge who and what countries. See, how is it possible when the tape is going through or however they do their payroll? Don't they ever audit? See, I'm used to audits. It makes me say to myself, how could this even happen? Okay? Even when it came to audits, the ball was dropped. Because money of Social Security is going out to another country under whose freaking name? And who did it? All those people need to be arrested. Every single person. And then meanwhile, we got Americans going to sign up for Social Security disability or coming on and right away they're declined. Isn't that sad? They're declined, but then you got cheats working in our system that had to do it, okay? Do it to get these people on because the check has to go to somebody. It has to go in somebody's account. And to know that a lot of money, even to illegals, should have never been. Should never been. So the way I see it, Mr. President, we need that money. Like I said, everybody should get 1,000, maybe even 2,000, okay? So we don't have to worry about that. That is what we need to get back. That is how I feel. In order to absorb all this shit. You know, did any of you, like when you were hearing this, I was like, what the fuck? That's what I said. How much more are we, the American people, going to find out? Who's scamming? Who's even in the government? Look at that other one that President Trump had to get the, to get her removed because they're smug. You know what I mean? They got that smug. You know, they don't even want to leave. Then you got Letitia James and you got that other girl, Lisa something, also, along with Adam Schiff. All scamming on mortgages. Look at this shit. Isn't it funny though in a way? Think about something. That's why I feel that President Trump always knows what he's doing and why things come out. Just think about this. Letitia James went after President Trump, okay, and his family on things with mortgages and all of that. Isn't that something? How then all of a sudden it's really them doing it? It's really them doing it? Look at Fannie Willis. Look at all of this. See what happens? And then us, if they would have got away with it, I told you, the only way that we're going to get justice is after President Trump removes all of these rogue judges. See, that's what happened. Through money of Soros, through money from other politicians that are really not for the people, got their seat. And then what do? They bring these judges in that are going to even overthrow a president. Listen, if we don't wake up, and I say this, even now what's going on in New York, okay? If you New Yorkers do not wake up to that one that wants to be mayor, if that happens and he becomes mayor, all of you guys better leave. I'm telling you right now. Just look at Britain. I still can't get over, okay? I still can't get over that technically Britain is gone. And why? Because people stayed quiet. They let it happen. I love the British programs. I watch, going to the country and buying a home there, right? Those shows. Every time I see it now, I say to myself, aren't they worried of what can be coming to their area? Because some people, it's like, okay, I'm born in the Bronx, so you know the 5 boroughs, right? Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, Manhattan, and New York City, right? And did I leave one out? The Bronx, okay? And Queens, Staten Island, Brooklyn, Manhattan. Okay. Now, it seems like people say, well, that's New York. But understand, it's still going to affect all of New York, because once all of that changes, and it is true with this guy, he should not be running. That's one thing. He should not be running. New York will be done. The one thing that's going to happen, you're going to get Sharia, okay? A lot of people don't know what that is, and it's not Sharia law. Sharia is the law. And I said this a long time ago, when one day I saw on TV a judge, a pretty woman judge, blonde hair, and she threw the whole Sharia out. You know how I feel? Why did it even get there? Why did that get there? Do you see what happens when it even gets into a courtroom? That's where you gotta be worried. The same way President Trump says, when he has to do an executive order or pass a bill because we gotta get parents' rights back. Really? See what I'm saying? That's what happens there. So now, every time I'm watching or I listen to Scott LeBedo, okay? The poor guy, what he says. He even did a video talking to President Trump, because he's right. He's right. I don't know who they bring in, these people. I don't know how you say his name, the guy running, but technically he has dual citizenship in another country. How could that be? You want to run for an office, you can't have dual citizenship. Number 2, all the gays out there, okay, all your gays in New York, remember, he is for a culture that will kill you, okay, will drop your ass, especially a man, over a building. So I was happy the other day when I finally saw a gay person also talking about that. You can't have that. And once you do that to New York City will go to shit. Because that's what they did. They did that in England. Remember Tommy Robinson, the poor guy? What do you think he was fighting? He was fighting because that's what happened in London with all the girls getting raped. Remember that? And then what did they do to him? Because he's a journalist, they put his ass in jail. That should not happen with him. I am literally shocked. I am very shocked. I have cousins that live in England, okay? I am so shocked. You know, you think of the British, this and that, right? to allow that to happen. So it's headed here. This is why, guys, we have President Trump. And that's why President Trump is fighting to help them. And he needs to listen. He needs to listen. Who wants to support Cuomo? Really? Really, President Trump? You're going to back Cuomo? Wasn't it Cuomo that, has that lawsuit against him with all the ventilators he did? And what happened with that? That all goes away? Who the hell wants to have that? This is why I'm saying you can't have that. You can't have a person like this guy who goes back home and he goes back to a state or a country, wherever, where they don't support LGBT. Okay? They don't support. So what does he do? He comes back into New York and he wants to support. Are you kidding me? Wake up. Wake up. That's all I got to say. I'll talk to you guys, and remember, everything's still in God's hands. You still got to pray. Okay? Because prayers work. When people write me, Deb, prayers, I see it working. And you got to keep it up. And remember, it's all in God's hands. And remember, President Trump loves you. I love you. And have a great day. Bye-bye.